Only 8% of men in America have visible six-pack abs, according to an estimate based on research from the Fitness Institute of America. Other studies, such as those conducted by the American Council on Exercise, have estimated that it can be as high as 10%. But there's also data that shows that most American men actually have way too high of a body fat percentage to see visible ab definition, with only 3 to 5% of the population maintaining a body fat percentage between 6 and 13%. This is considered a general range where your body fat is sufficiently low enough to have your abs pop and show. Now, the bottom line truth is almost everyone watching this video can get abs, but most people make major mistakes that prevent them from ever seeing well-defined abdominal muscles. And the first issue is that most people are too impatient. Like I said, seeing your abs requires you to maintain a relatively low body fat percentage, usually under 13 to 15%. And unfortunately, very few people ever get their body fat percentage that low. If you have a layer of fat covering your abs, you're not going to be able to see a six-pack. And this comes down to an issue of patience, because the belly area is one of the last spots to release fat since it's your center of mass. So it doesn't cost much energy for your body to maintain the fat around your stomach. That's why you'll see fat reduction from your face, arms, and legs long before you see it coming off your midsection. The only solution is to stick to a calorie deficit for long enough to ultimately reach that stored belly fat. This is where patience comes into play. Many people get demotivated when they're not noticing fat loss around their abs, and that makes them start to slack on their diet or quit entirely. Instead, if you just keep plowing forward and you stick to a calorie deficit made up of healthy foods, your body will eventually start pulling from the fat that sits around your abs. This can take months of consistent work, and unfortunately, every time that you lose motivation or faith that you're making progress and you quit your diet plan, you wind up setting yourself back big time, because even though the belly area is one of the last spots to go, it's one of the first spots that your body prefers to store fat when you gain it back by binging or giving up on your diet. So if you want to see your abs, commit to staying in a calorie deficit and eating right until your body fat percentage is low enough. And this actually leads to another major issue: not continuously readjusting your diet plan as you burn fat and get leaner. Most people calculate their calorie deficit once when first starting their diet plan, but as you stick to a calorie deficit and you lose fat, many things begin to change. It's counterintuitive to think that simply carrying around more body fat actually boosts your resting metabolic rate. But think about it, if you're carrying an extra 20 pounds everywhere you go, it'll make all non-exercise related movements consume more energy. In the process of losing fat, you may also lose some muscle, and something known as adaptive thermogenesis will also set in, playing an impact on a slowing resting metabolic rate. So when you hit fat loss plateaus, which given a long enough timeline you definitely will, you have to adjust your calories and macros to continue burning body fat. Even if a calorie calculator is telling you that you're eating 500 calories below maintenance every day and that you are in a calorie deficit, that calculator could be completely wrong. And the way that you know if it's wrong is by evaluating if you're burning fat or not. If you're not losing inches and you don't see any progress in the mirror for weeks or months, but you're also not gaining any body fat, then that literally means that your current diet is keeping you hovering at maintenance. Even if you lost fat with this diet plan and calorie deficit originally, it's now your new maintenance set point. So to fix this, you should try reducing your diet by another 200 to 300 calories per day each time you hit a plateau for a few weeks. Then reevaluate a few weeks later, and repeat this process every time you hit a plateau. It'll likely take multiple adjustments to reduce your body fat low enough to see six-pack abs. And speaking of six-packs, another potential issue that I have to mention, which is the only one that's outside of your control, is genetics. Some people physically cannot get six-pack abs because of the way the rectus abdominis is shaped. The rectus abdominis is the external layer of ab muscle that we all commonly refer to as a six-pack. But in reality, the rectus abdominis is actually one sheet of muscle rather than the 6 separate muscles that it appears to be. The thing that makes it appear like separate muscles is something known as tendinous inscriptions. These are tendons that run in between the rectus abdominis, and they're highly based on genetics. Most people will have 3 to 5 tendinous inscriptions, and these tendinous inscriptions come in all different thicknesses, sizes, and even in lopsided arrangements. This is why one guy can have perfectly symmetrical 8-pack abs when maintaining a low body fat percentage. Meanwhile, another guy with the same body fat percentage can only see a 4-pack. For this reason, your goal shouldn't be to have an 8 or 10-pack or even a 6-pack for that matter. Everyone watching this video can get lean enough to see abs, regardless of how many blocks show up when you do actually get lean. Since you can't add more tendinous inscriptions, you shouldn't compare your abs to some model that genetically has different looking abs at an anatomical level. Now, something that is fully in your control is your ability to progressively overload and develop your abs over time. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I see people making. Most men do not train their abs with free weights at all. They'll try to lift heavier weight loads for exercises like squats, bench presses, and even bicep curls, but they treat abs completely differently. The truth is, your rectus abdominis, like other muscles in your body, responds very well to using heavier and heavier weight loads over time. Aside from lowering your body fat percentage, you can also affect visibility by growing your abs. Bulkier abdominal muscles will pop through the skin and show more than underdeveloped ab muscles, in the same way that developed shoulders will look rounder and more defined compared to shoulder muscles that have not been properly developed with progressive overload. So every week your goal should be to lift a heavier weight with your ab exercises, and you should be shooting for multiple sets consisting of 6 to 10 reps rather than doing endless crunches with just your body weight. To build ab muscle, you also want to avoid the common mistake of relying on compound exercises like squats and deadlifts. This is another reason that most people never see abs. For a long time, it was believed that you can get a perfect six-pack just by stimulating your abs for growth indirectly with compound exercises. However, research has revealed that you won't even get half the activation for your rectus abdominis, even when lifting extremely heavy weight loads for exercises like squats, deadlifts, and clean and presses, when compared to basic ab exercises like the straight leg sit-up. So train your abs with ab-specific exercises like weighted decline sit-ups, weighted leg raises with pulse-ups, and weighted crunches, and work on increasing the weight load that you use over time. You should also make it a point to train your abs at least twice a week with at least 9 heavy weighted sets during each session. This is something that most people once again get wrong. They throw in some crunches at the end of a training session and wind up with hardly any training volume by the end of the week. Volume plays one of the biggest impacts on muscle growth, and it essentially boils down to total sets times reps times weight load used. Studies have shown that you can achieve more muscle growth by training a muscle more often, like 2 times a week compared to just 1 time a week. So make sure you do that. With that said, don't make the mistake of training abs every day. This falls into the same category of treating abs differently than other muscles in your body. We all know that we have to give our shoulders, our legs, and our backs and other muscles time to recover from the last workout. Typically, it's recommended to take 48 to 72 hours off before training these same muscles again. But many people try to get abs by doing endless reps of bodyweight crunches on a daily basis. Just like other muscles, the abs will recover and grow while resting, and just like it wouldn't be optimal for muscle growth to train shoulders every day, it's also not optimal to train abs every day. 2 to 3 dedicated ab-specific workouts per week with heavy weight is more than enough. Another reason that most people never get abs is that they try to avoid crunching and sit-up movements, and instead they stick to isometric or static ab exercises like planks. A lot of this comes from a false fear that crunching movements lead to lower back pain, but this is actually not true and has been disproven again and again. One of the main functions of your rectus abdominis from an anatomical perspective is spinal flexion. When you're doing exercises like decline sit-ups or even regular crunches, you go back and forth between flexion and extension of the spine. Or in other words, you have a concentric phase on the way up and an eccentric phase on the way down. Meanwhile, if you're just doing static exercises like planks, you just hold an isometric contraction. Even though planks are great, especially for your deep stabilizer muscles like your transverse abdominis, there are far better exercises for building a blockier rectus abdominis that focus on flexion around the spine and trunk area. Once again, most people wouldn't hold a bicep curl halfway up to build their biceps. They would do reps where they would go through a full range of motion, reaping benefits from both the concentric and the eccentric phases of the exercise. However, as usual, abs are treated differently even though they shouldn't be. So to be clear, you should be doing crunching and sit-up movements through a full range of motion, and to protect your spine, make sure you have good form and you're not making dangerous mistakes like pulling on your head and neck during each of your reps. So that about wraps it up. I really hope this video has helped you find some of the issues that could be preventing you from seeing your abs. If it has, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and remember that body fat is definitely one of the biggest parts of the equation. If you have too much body fat, you simply won't be able to see your abs no matter how developed they are. So if you'd like a streamlined approach to dropping 20 pounds or 5% of your body fat in the next 6 weeks, check out my free 6-week shred. It'll come with a personalized meal plan, a recipe book, a workout plan that includes a full ab workout plan, and of course a coach will be there to answer any questions and guide you through the entire process. To find out more, you can click the link below in the description, or you can visit my website directly at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon. Pump it.